Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens to those who try to harm you? Let me tell you, as the chosen one, you are not helpless. God observes every detail and acts in surprising ways, but not always in the way you expect. In today's video, I will reveal something so powerful and hidden that when you discover it, everything in your life will start to make sense. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn might be exactly what is missing to transform your journey and bring the justice you have been waiting for. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I will share something that can completely change your perspective on divine justice and how God works in your life. This message will open your eyes to the greater purpose behind every challenge you face and reveal why nothing happens by chance. Get ready, because what I am about to reveal is deeper than you can imagine. Maybe you have felt wronged, betrayed, or that people tried to harm you for no apparent reason. Maybe you have asked yourself, why is this happening to me? Or where is the justice in all of this? Know this, you are not alone. This feeling that something greater is at play is not just an impression, it's real. There is a deep reason for everything you are going through, and what you will discover here can change the way you see these moments. The chosen ones are key pieces in the grand puzzle of the divine plan. God, in His infinite wisdom, selects special people to fulfill extraordinary missions. These missions may seem small in human eyes, but in the spiritual realm, they have an eternal impact. Whether through words, actions, or simply their presence, the chosen ones carry a light that is capable of transforming environments and touching hearts. This happens because the purpose of a chosen one is intrinsically linked to God's will, and every step of their journey is carefully guided. God uses the chosen ones to spread love, justice, wisdom, and faith in a world often marked by darkness. Being a chosen one goes far beyond a title or recognition. Chosen ones are those who possess a deep spiritual sensitivity and an unmistakable calling in their lives. They carry unique characteristics such as compassion, courage, intuition, and unshakable faith, even in the face of adversity. However, being chosen also brings unique challenges. These people often face periods of isolation, misunderstanding, and resistance, both from others and from themselves. This difficult path is not by chance, it is a process of refinement. The chosen ones need to be polished to be ready for the mission God has entrusted to them. One of the greatest difficulties faced by the chosen ones is loneliness. Often they feel different, as if they do not belong to this world, and this can generate doubts and even discouragement. However, this feeling of displacement is a sign that they have a higher purpose. Additionally, the chosen ones face constant attacks, whether from people close to them or from opposing spiritual forces. These attacks do not happen by chance. Those chosen by God carry a light so intense that it disturbs those who live in darkness. But it is important to remember that these trials are part of the divine plan to strengthen and prepare them. The connection of the chosen ones with God is deep and unshakable. This connection is like a golden thread that directly links them to the heart of the Creator. It is through this connection that they find the strength to move forward, even when everything seems to be falling apart. God speaks to the chosen ones in unique ways, in dreams, visions, signs, or even in the silence of a prayer. This closeness to the divine not only strengthens them, but also differentiates them, as God's will is evident in their lives. It is as if they are a living reflection of the celestial purpose, constantly renewed by this sacred relationship. The chosen ones face attacks because they possess something rare and valuable, God's favor. This favor arouses envy and resentment in people who do not understand the divine purpose. Furthermore, the enemy knows the potential that the chosen ones have to transform lives and tries to stop them at any cost. The difficulties faced by these people are, in fact, a reflection of their importance in the spiritual plan. When someone messes with a chosen one, they are not just facing an ordinary person, but the entire heavenly army that protects them. That is why God intervenes in a powerful, surprising, and even supernatural way. The trials faced by the chosen ones are not punishments but training. God allows these difficulties to happen to strengthen faith, shape character, and prepare the person for even greater challenges. It is like gold that needs to pass through the fire to be purified. Every tear, every battle, and every apparent defeat are instruments that God uses to prepare the chosen ones for what is to come. These trials also serve as testimonies, showing the world that the strength of the chosen ones does not come from themselves but from God who sustains them. The chosen ones have a special radiance that cannot be ignored. This radiance is the manifestation of God's glory in their lives. However, this light also attracts looks of envy and misunderstanding. Many cannot understand how the chosen ones remain standing, even after so many battles. This strength is a mystery to the world, but to the chosen ones, it is the evidence of God's power acting in their lives. They carry an aura of hope, faith, and courage that contagiously influences everyone around them, even without saying a word. The Bible teaches us that God is a just judge, and when someone messes with a chosen one, they are, in fact, facing God himself. This divine protection is one of the greatest blessings that the chosen ones possess. God fights the battles they cannot face alone, and often does so in a powerful and surprising manner. The attacks that the chosen ones suffer never go unnoticed by God. He turns every attempt at destruction into an opportunity to manifest his glory, showing that no one can defeat those he has chosen and loves. The mission of the chosen ones is to bring light where there is darkness, hope where there is despair, and love where there is hatred. This mission is not always easy, as it requires sacrifice, resilience, and total dependence on God. However, it is also one of the greatest honors someone can receive. Being chosen means being an ambassador of the kingdom of God, a living example of what it means to walk in faith, even in the midst of adversities. Every chosen one is proof that God still acts in the world, performing miracles and transforming lives. No matter how many difficulties, attacks, and moments of doubt the chosen ones face, the end of their story is already written by God. And this end is glorious. God promises that those who are faithful to his calling will receive rewards that go beyond human imagination. He honors every tear, every prayer, and every step of faith of the chosen ones. At the right time, God shows everyone that no one can touch his anointed ones with impunity. The victory of the chosen ones is not just personal. It is a living testimony of God's power and love for those he has chosen. Divine justice is an immutable and perfect principle. Unlike human justice, which is often flawed and limited, God's justice is infallible and always fulfills its purpose at the right time. When someone rises against a chosen one, it is important to remember that God sees and knows all the intentions of the heart. No action, good or bad, goes unnoticed by the Lord. He is just in all his works, and at the right time makes each seed planted, whether of goodness or of evil, bear its fruit. For those who trust in him, this is a reason for rest and hope, for God acts as the defender and protector of his children. The word of God is clear in stating that God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6 verse 7. This is one of the pillars of divine justice. Everything done, whether in public or in secret, will have a consequence. For the chosen one, this means that God is attentive to every attack, slander, or injustice directed at them. He is the great judge, and his sentence is always just. When someone tries to harm a chosen one, they often do not realize that they are fighting against God himself, for he is the one who protects those who have a greater purpose. The story of Joseph in the book of Genesis is a powerful example of how God turns evil into blessing. Sold by his own brothers as a slave, Joseph seemed doomed to failure and pain. However, God was in control, even in the most difficult circumstances. He used every challenge, from imprisonment to being forgotten, to prepare Joseph for a greater purpose, saving his family and an entire nation from famine. Just as in Joseph's life, God also acts behind the scenes in the lives of the chosen ones, transforming the enemy's schemes into a victory that glorifies his name. When David faced Goliath, he was just a young shepherd, inexperienced in battle and armed with simple weapons. To human eyes, he seemed fragile and unprepared. But David knew his strength came from the Lord. He boldly declared, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel 17 verse 45. This story is a powerful reminder that God fights for his chosen ones. No matter the size of the enemy, when God is on the side of the chosen one, victory is certain. Just like David, you can also trust that God will act on your behalf against those who rise to harm you. Daniel is another example of how God protects those who are faithful to him. Despite being the target of conspiracies and envy, Daniel remained firm in his faith, refusing to compromise his principles. Thrown into the lion's den, he seemed to be in a hopeless situation. But God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths, delivering Daniel in a miraculous way. This story is proof that God never abandons his chosen ones, even in the most difficult situations. He acts as a faithful defender, showing that those who trust in him will never be put to shame. Often, God works behind the scenes, performing silent miracles that we only understand with time. He transforms situations that seem impossible, opens doors that were closed, and even uses our enemies' mistakes and attacks to elevate us. The chosen one may not see or understand what God is doing at the moment, but can be certain that everything is working for their good. This is the power of divine justice. It acts perfectly, even when we cannot clearly see what is happening. Joseph's story teaches us a profound principle. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50 verse 20. This same principle continues to apply to the lives of the chosen ones today. When someone tries to harm a chosen one, they are often unknowingly contributing to the fulfillment of God's purpose. He has the power to take the malicious actions of others and turn them into steps toward victory. What seemed like a defeat becomes the testimony of a miracle. Another important aspect of divine justice is forgiveness. Joseph not only forgave his brothers, but also welcomed and supported them. This shows that while God takes care of justice, the chosen one is called to release forgiveness and continue trusting in him. Forgiving does not mean agreeing with the injustice, but rather placing in God's hands what is beyond our control. True divine justice is always greater and more perfect than any human justice. When the chosen one faces attacks, it is natural to feel vulnerable or helpless. But it is precisely in these moments that God manifests his strength most evidently. He is the one who turns tears into joy, pain into purpose, and persecution into testimony. Remember that while you face the battle, God has already prepared the victory. He works in your favor, both in visible and invisible things, showing that his protection is unshakable. For the chosen one, it is essential to trust in the promise that vengeance is mine, says the Lord, Romans 12 verse 19. There is no need to repay evil with evil, for God fights the battles of his children. His justice may not be immediate, but it is always certain. When you rest in God and trust in him, you allow divine power to fully manifest in your life. And just as in the stories of Joseph, David, and Daniel, the final result will always be a great victory for the glory of God. Perhaps you have felt that no matter how hard you try to act with kindness and integrity, people around you still seem to turn against you. It is as if the light you carry disturbs those who prefer to live in darkness. This is not a coincidence. As a chosen one, you have a special mission, and often this mission provokes reactions in people. They sense something different about you, even without understanding exactly what it is. This difference is a reflection of God's plan in your life, and that is why you become the target of criticism, envy, and even sabotage. The attacks can come in unexpected ways. Sometimes they are negative words that seem to undermine your confidence. Other times they are attitudes of disdain, rejection, or even open persecution. It can happen in the workplace, in friendships, or even within your own family. How many times have you wondered, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? The truth is that you did nothing but shine God's light, and that light exposes the shadows around. The enemy uses people close to you to try to divert you from your purpose. But what he does not know is that God turns every attack into a springboard for something greater. Think about how many times you were misunderstood, even with the best intentions. It could be that colleague who tried to take credit for your work, that friend who spread rumors about you, or even a relative who constantly diminishes your dreams. These are subtle but constant attacks that make you question your own strength. And if this has happened to you, know that it is exactly the type of test that the chosen ones face. God allows these moments not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. Each painful experience shapes the character of the chosen one and brings them closer to the divine purpose. The first strategy is to recognize that you are not alone. God is with you at all times, and this is the greatest weapon a chosen one can have. Prayer is your shield. When you pray, you hand over your battles to God, allowing him to fight for you. Remember, what is beyond your control is within God's plan. Also, it is important to practice patience. God's response may not always be immediate, but it will always be perfect. While you wait, strengthen your spirituality by reading the Word and surrounding yourself with positive messages that nourish your faith. Spiritual strengthening is essential to face these challenges. Meditate on the promise that all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8 verse 28. This truth is an anchor in times of storm. Also, practice gratitude. Even in the face of difficulties, remember all that God has already done for you. This changes your perspective and gives you the strength to continue. Choose to be resilient and steadfast in your faith, because each day of resistance is a step closer to victory. If you have ever felt wronged or alone, know that this is part of something much greater. God is seeing everything and acting on your behalf, even when it seems He is silent. The tears you have shed were not in vain. They are seeds of something grand that is to come. Many of God's greatest servants went through moments of rejection and solitude. It is in this space that God performs miracles, restoring and elevating those who trust in Him. God never sleeps. He is attentive to every detail of your life. While you are here listening to this message, God is working behind the scenes, preparing something that you cannot even imagine. It may seem that the attacks against you are winning, but remember, the one who laughs last is God. He not only delivers you from your enemies, but also makes them witness your victory. They will see with their own eyes what God does in the life of a chosen one. Difficult moments are not the end, but the beginning of a powerful testimony. Every stone thrown at you will be used by God to build the foundation of your victory. Choose to transform pain into purpose, rejection into learning, and criticism into fuel to achieve the dreams that God has placed in your heart. This is what differentiates a chosen one: the ability to look at adversity and see an opportunity to glorify God's name. Be patient and confident, because God not only protects you, but also exalts His own. He promises that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54 verse 17. This promise is your security amid the attacks. No matter what people do or say against you, God has the final word, and that word is always victory for the chosen ones. Your struggle is not in vain, and God's plan for your life is greater than any opposition. Now take a moment and think of all the situations where you were wronged but managed to overcome. It was not by chance. Every victory was a reminder that God is with you. Today, He calls you to continue trusting and placing everything in His hands. He loves you, protects you, and is acting in ways you cannot yet see. Chosen one, keep your faith and trust in God's plan, for He will do something powerful and surprising in your life. Many wonder why those with such a high purpose face so many difficulties, rejections, and attacks. The answer lies in the very essence of the chosen one's mission. These situations are not punishments or chance. They are part of a greater plan to shape and strengthen the spirit. God allows certain challenges so that the chosen one can develop the spiritual and emotional skills necessary to handle the weight of the mission they have been given. These attacks are, in fact, a sign of the impact you are making in the spiritual world. The greater the purpose, the greater the resistance faced. The attacks not only test your strength, but also refine your ability to overcome obstacles. Imagine a soldier who has never been to the battlefield. He will never be prepared for real war. In the same way, the chosen one is shaped like a rough diamond, turning each challenge into an opportunity to shine brighter. These moments of pain and difficulty are like celestial training, where God is preparing you to endure and conquer the extraordinary. What many do not realize is that attacks come as harbingers of something grand that is to come. Before great victories, there are usually moments of intense opposition. This is not a coincidence, but rather the way God prepares the chosen one for the next phase of their journey. The attacks are actually an indication that you are advancing spiritually, disturbing forces that wish to keep you paralyzed. Each battle won is another step toward your destiny. When the chosen one perseveres amid difficulties, something powerful happens. Their faith becomes unshakable. Each overcoming strengthens their connection with the divine, bringing a spiritual clarity that few can achieve. Spiritual resilience is like a muscle that grows each time it is exercised. By facing and overcoming adversities, you become more aligned with the purpose that God has placed in your life, learning to depend solely on Him at all times. Chosen one, understand, what today seems like an insurmountable obstacle is actually the door to profound transformation. God does not waste pain. Each situation that seems impossible is an opportunity for Him to show His power through you. It is in moments of greatest difficulty that your true essence emerges. Choose a Bible verse that resonates with your current situation. For example, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Psalm 23 verse 1. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and slowly repeat the verse, allowing each word to penetrate your heart. Remain silent for a few minutes, allowing God to speak to your heart. This practice will help bring clarity and strength in moments when everything seems lost. The practice of gratitude is even more powerful when we face difficulties. When something goes wrong, make the exercise of saying, "Lord, I do not understand now, but I thank you because I know you have something greater reserved for me." This simple declaration of faith transforms your energy and opens the way for God to work miracles in your life. In addition to praying and meditating, other small habits can strengthen your connection with God. Start the day by reading a passage from the Bible, listening to hymns, or simply thanking God for the gift of life. These practices keep your mind and spirit focused on the good and make it more difficult for negative energies to approach. Remember that your connection with God should not be limited to specific moments. While working, driving, or even performing simple tasks, be aware of His presence. Repeat short phrases such as "God is with me" or "I am guided by the Lord." This constant practice creates an aura of protection around you. It is important to be consistent in your spiritual practices. As a chosen one, your life will be marked by challenges, but also by grand victories. Your journey is not just yours, but also a testimony to the power of God. Persevere in your prayers, meditations, and gratitude. They not only protect you, but also open paths for the divine plan to unfold in an even more powerful and surprising way. By incorporating these practical tools into your routine, you will become increasingly strong and spiritually resilient. God is by your side, guiding every step and protecting you from everything that tries to divert you from the purpose for which you were chosen. Up until now, you have understood the importance of practices like prayer, meditation, and gratitude to strengthen your spirit. But I want you to imagine something much greater, something that goes beyond what you can see or feel. God not only acts in your life, He also moves circumstances, people, and even seemingly impossible situations to protect you. When someone tries to harm a chosen one, the very universe aligns to ensure that nothing, absolutely nothing, can harm you beyond what God allows for your growth. Perhaps you have already noticed this. Situations that seemed to be against you suddenly turned in your favor. People who attacked you unjustly ended up reaping what they sowed. This is not by chance. God works in silence, and often, while you rest or face your daily struggles, He is preparing something extraordinary to show you and the world that being chosen is a privilege and a responsibility. This protection is something that no one can take away from you. Are you ready to understand what is reserved for those who mess with you? Perhaps you have faced betrayals, injustices, or even attacks that made you question if God was seeing all this. But let me tell you something powerful. Nothing goes unnoticed by His eyes. God's protection in the lives of the chosen ones is something that goes beyond human comprehension. Stay with me until the end, because what I am going to share now will not only strengthen your faith, but also show that everything that happens, even the struggles, has a greater purpose. There is something surprising reserved for you, and when you understand what God does for you, and against those who try to harm you, your perspective will change completely. God never allows a chosen one to be harmed without a greater purpose. Every negative action directed at you is seen and judged by Him. What many do not understand is that God uses adversities to prepare you, strengthen you, and reveal His glory in surprising ways. When someone tries to harm you, whether through words, actions, or intentions, God transforms that attack into an opportunity to exalt your life. What seemed to be the end is actually the beginning of something grand, because the chosen ones are protected by a divine plan that is beyond human understanding. The attacks that the chosen ones face are not by chance. When someone acts against you, what was meant to be a curse is reversed by God as a blessing. He not only protects, but completely transforms the malicious intention into something that will benefit you in the long run. This is reflected in the words of Romans 8 verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. What seemed like the final blow, God uses to open doors, heal wounds, and take you to a level of victory that even your enemies will have to acknowledge. God is not indifferent to the injustices that the chosen ones suffer. He observes every act of wickedness and, at the right time, makes these negative actions return to those who practice them. This is not just an act of vengeance, but a way to teach a spiritual lesson to those who oppose the chosen one. This cycle of return is inevitable because God is just and zealous for those He has chosen. Those who tried to bring you down will often find themselves facing the same difficulties they tried to place in your path. Every attack you suffer has a greater purpose. God uses these experiences to shape your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for a glorious future. The adversities we face as chosen ones are like a refining fire that purifies and eliminates any weakness. It is not easy, but it is necessary. When evil manifests against you, God takes that moment to elevate you and show that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. You are a living testimony that God's promises never fail. When divine justice is revealed in your life, It does not happen just for your protection or personal exaltation. Your testimony serves as a light for other people who are going through similar struggles. God uses your story to show the world that He never abandons His own. By seeing how you overcame, others will find strength and inspiration to trust in God. Your victory is not just yours. It is a message of hope for all who observe. Many times, you may not realize it, but there is an invisible protection around you. God places spiritual barriers between you and your enemies. Even when people try to conspire against you, their plans do not prosper. How many times have you escaped situations that seemed impossible? This is not a coincidence, it is God acting in your favor. What the world sees as luck is actually God's hand warding off danger and ensuring that His purpose in your life is fulfilled. When people try to harm you and fail, it not only exalts your life, but also glorifies God. Those who doubted you or tried to bring you down are forced to recognize that there is something greater protecting you. This is not to feed pride, but to demonstrate that God is faithful to His chosen ones. Your victory is not just personal, but spiritual, as it evidences that God's power is real and unshakable. Curiously, often the enemies become instruments of God to elevate you. They think they are harming you, but in reality, they are pushing you closer to your purpose. Joseph in Egypt is a perfect example. His brothers sold him as a slave, but God used that betrayal to place him in a position of leadership. Similarly, those who try to bring you down may unknowingly be contributing to the fulfillment of God's plans in your life. No one can escape divine justice. Although it sometimes seems that the wicked prosper while the chosen ones suffer, remember that God acts at the right time. He allows certain situations to happen to show that He is in control. Those who conspire against you will face the consequences of their actions, and this will serve as a powerful reminder that God never abandons His own. As a chosen one, it is essential to learn to be grateful even for the struggles. They are not a sign of abandonment, but that God is working in your life. When you face attacks, trust that God is turning everything for your good. Instead of focusing on the problem, focus on the promise. Thank God for His protective hands and for the powerful testimony He is building in your life. In the end, you will see that every tear and every challenge was worth it because God always fulfills what He promises. Start paying close attention to the signs around you, especially when facing difficulties or attacks. Do not react with despair or fear, but trust that God is working behind the scenes. Pray, declare God's promises over your life, and let Him show His justice and glory in action. I invite you to apply these spiritual tools daily: trust, gratitude, and total surrender into God's hands. See how He transforms evil into good and makes everything work for your growth. Stop now and reflect on the situations that have challenged you. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How is God using this to strengthen me and take me to the next level?" Declare your trust in Him and watch the changes that will start to happen. Challenge yourself to act with patience, discernment, and courage, trusting that God is in control of everything. God has plans of peace, prosperity, and victory for you. Do not let momentary circumstances or the attacks of others make you doubt that. The promise is clear: no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Hold firmly to this truth and keep your eyes on what is to come, knowing that God transforms the impossible into possible for those who trust in Him. Share in the comments your story as a chosen one. Have you gone through moments where you felt divine justice in action? Or are you facing a challenge now and need strength? Write, share, and let's strengthen this community together. You are not alone on this journey. There is power in every testimony. Let's grow and edify each other as chosen ones who fully trust in God. Thank you for staying with me until now. If this content resonated with your heart, follow the channel, like, and share this video with others who might also relate. If you want to discover if you carry the secret sign of the most powerful chosen ones of God, the next video is for you. Click now and discover.